major renovations to make that intro down to where it was. So, all right, we're gonna check our audios, and then we're gonna rip our sponsors. Well, that sounds bad. We're gonna list our sponsors.
You're gonna rip on your sponsors?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the opposite of what sponsors want.
Sponsors. Money. All right, so everybody, welcome back to 100 Proof Whitetails. Keith Burley's in the studio tonight. We're going to talk a little surveying. But before we do, we always rip the sponsors.
You mean rep the sponsors? Or
Whatever.
rip the sponsors?
Rip the sponsors. So we're going to be talking a bunch of things surveying tonight. Got like a little guide sheet.
I made a cheat sheet, a little outline, a little roadmap for myself so I don't forget everything.
Yeah. So that's all good. So we'll get right into it. Busy Bee Chiropractic and Wellness. Sponsors are right up here in the upper corner. For all of your chiropractic wellness needs, they have a sauna on site, nutritionist, you name it. Busy Bee Chiropractic is the place to go in Newark, New York. Go see Dr. Britt, and she'll get you feeling better and straightened out. So, highly recommend. Me and Nate go there all the time. Keith doesn't. It's too far from his house.
It is pretty far from my house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
that's a drive for me.
But
Sorry.
yeah. Anyway, so go see Dr. Britt. We're talking about having her come on and do a show and talk about the benefits of chiropractic and helping you feel good and stay good once we get over that 30 hump.
I'm
Which we're all
I'm almost to the next hump.
Yeah, 35, right?
No, I wish. I wish.
M&R Firewood Services here in Phelps, New York. For all of your firewood, camp bundle needs, smoking wood, specialty wood. They do face cords as well, and for these cold winter months. But then coming up, he's getting ready for his campfire season. So
Nice.
you can go see Rick's stop there on 96 heading out of town in Phelps, or you can go down on Seneca Lake down by Smoking Pete's, and you can go there if you want to buy the wood down there if you're on the way down to Sampson or something like that.
Okay, cool. So you can stop with the camper, get some lunch, get some
Well,
firewood.
Sampson's on the wrong side.
Yeah, that's on the other side. Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen. If you're heading down to Watkins Glen way. Pierce Metalworks. Nate's not here tonight because he's in the shop.
He's
So
busy.
he's probably at the shop doing work, watching the podcast. So check out Pierce Metalworks for all of your metal fabricating, welding, and custom build needs. He does it all, folks. Everything from fleshing tumblers to plow blades to jig head molds, you name it. He's come up with some big custom plans this year for stuff.
That's awesome.
He's rolled out some really great products. So and does repairs as well for stuff too. So
cool.
We got Whitetail Properties of the Finger Lakes, Tim Kent, Heather Kent, and myself, and all the Whitetail Properties folks here in New York for all of your land buying and selling needs. Reach out to a land specialist today if you're looking to buy. Be happy to talk to you about the process and how that works. And if you're looking to sell or just wondering what your ground's worth, get a hold of one of us today, and we do free property evaluations. So hit us up. Phelps Fire Department is where we're going to have Nora's birthday party here at the end of the month.
Nice.
So they helped us out with our youth event that we did. The money we raised for the youth event, rather, the chicken barbecue fundraiser. Sent that money to FFA and 4-H here locally. All the proceeds from that didn't make a single thing. It all went back to the kids. So thank you, Phelps Fire, for having that and for hosting Nora's birthday party here at the end of the month, too. So great place for a kid's birthday party, family reunion.
I feel like all of the cool things as a kid happen at the fire department.
Yeah. Yep, they got a little clubhouse there. All the tables and chairs. Don't got to rent extras. Anything
it's
like
awesome.
That. Perfect.
Good.
Heritage Outdoor Sports, Phelps, New York. Go see Mike, Louie, and the gang for all of your archery needs. Also, if you need any archery coaching or anything like that. From vertical bows to crossbows, recurves, and more. Heritage Outdoor Sports. Winter League's underway, but the Summer League is right around the corner.
They're coming up quick.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be here before you know
it. Yep. So with that does that's all the sponsors of the show.
Awesome. So it's so cool to see all those sponsors. I mean,
yeah, they help us offset some of the bills.
Yeah, I mean it's better than nothing, right?
It's less of a net loss at the end of the year. So
very cool.
But yeah, so Keith, thanks for coming down. You've been on the show probably 4 or 5 times, I would say.
Yeah,
at this point.
probably like a handful at least. Yeah, here
handful,
and there.
Maybe 20.
Yeah, a handful. Yeah, I mean, we're not drinking too much tonight, so it should be a pretty good show, I think. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty excited about this. I love my job and I love what I do, and I really enjoy any opportunities that we get to talk about surveying. So it's going to be fun, I think.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about, I guess, your roots in surveying, what you do as a surveyor, and then kind of, I guess, give a little introduction about some of like the committees and stuff and the boards you're on, and
Yep.
a little bit of background for the folks.
Yeah, so just a little bit about me. I got into surveying in 2016, so it's about 10 years now. I got in through actually my stepsister's husband. Just started as out as like a shadow deal. Like went and shadowed a couple older surveyors, and then it kind of progressed into getting into it more. And the next thing I know, like a few months later, I was going to ESF Ranger School for land surveying technology, and the rest is history. Graduated in May of the following year and took one day off, and I've been surveying ever since. So it's been kind of a whirlwind of a third career for me, but it kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So it's been really good. So that's kind of so I work for Marks Engineering in Canandaigua, New York. We do residential, commercial engineering as well as land surveying. A lot of what I do is a lot of boundary work for pure surveying, but then we do a lot of topographic mapping, base mapping for our engineer team of what I do. So I kind of my niche in surveying is I do a lot of our subdivisions, major and minor subdivisions, lot line adjustments, annexations, and then topographic surveys for our engineers. That's kind of my niche. I don't do a lot of like pure boundary work anymore. Just kind of I have other people that specialize in those. And then so that's kind of where it all started. Where I am today, I'm really strongly involved in our state association. Nice Apples, New York State Association for Professional Land Surveyors. I've been on our Young Professionals Committee for 9 years now. This is my 9th year, 2026. I'm now the committee chair for that. So basically with that, what I am is like a resource for young people coming into the profession. Young surveyors coming right out of school or new to the profession that need resources, that want to learn more, they want to progress their career, they want to go towards licensure. I provide the resources for those folks, like internet resources. We're going to start doing webinars, things like that. So that's how I'm involved at the state level, and then I'm involved at the national level with the Young Surveyors Network a little bit. Just kind of getting in with that, the national level. And then I do a lot with beasurveyor.com.
So, and all those links for Nice Apples, beasurveyor.com, and NSPS.
Yep, NSPS.
Yep. Are all should be all in the bios. If
Yep.
they're not, I don't know what to tell you. StreamYard deleted them. So, all those links should be in the bio. So, if anybody's interested in more information on Nice Apples, that's New York Surveyors.
Yep. So our New York State Association, and then NSPS is the National Society for Professional Surveyors. That's the national association. And then the final one is beasurveyor.com. That's really for recruitment for young folks. It has a lot of information there for middle school, high school level people that may want to get involved. It lists all the colleges and universities that offer survey programs throughout the entire United States. 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees from New York to Hawaii. So it's kind of a cool resource that NCES put together as a national initiative to gain some traction with recruitment, really, for the profession.
And is that how you end up going down? You go to like the big FFA conference, right, every year and stuff like that?
So I got involved with beasurveyor.com a few years ago. They found out that I was involved with Nice Apples Young Professionals Committee. They invited me to go to the state FFA convention to work the beasurveyor.com booth. So we have a full booth set up, swag, banners, the whole 9 yards. That went really well. And
you got the drip for the kids nowadays?
No, we bring.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what all this new stuff means. It confuses the crap out of me, to be perfectly honest. So I got involved with that, and then I got invited to go to Indianapolis for the National Future Farmers of America Convention. So this year was my 2nd year doing that, and it was phenomenal. You know, they have about 60,000 kids to go to that, and we get like 3,000 to 4,000 that come by our booth. What's amazing is, first of all, a lot of those kids know about surveying, what it is. But the second thing is almost every single one of those students that came up to me, no matter the age or where they were from, were like the epitome of amazing students,
Mm-hmm.
like kind, respectful. I've never been called sir so many times in my life. Just super cool group of kids to work with. Do some other career fairs, Wayne County, Ontario County, things like that. But that's kind of for outreach for surveying, that's kind of my thing is beasurveyor.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you have young kids that have any interest in being outside in the outdoors, check that website out. It has a lot of cool resources for their profession as a whole. So
Well, and it's a job security thing too. I mean, you're
yep,
talking that it's never going to be something that you can't
yeah,
do it completely digitally.
yep,
I know we're going to talk a little bit about the future and where stuff has gone
yep,
compared to
yep.
because you
So
guys aren't pulling chains anymore.
no, not pulling chains. Although I do have a chain somewhere at my office. So I guess this is a good kind of intro of what is a surveyor. What does a surveyor do? Okay, so
You
the
use Onyx, right?
I do not, but my coworkers do. So we'll talk about that. So the basis of surveying, where did it all start? Well, it all started out in, we all these countries, all these areas around the world have all this land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody owns the land or they acquire the land, right? And so back in the day, in England and all these different places, they had to come up with a way to divide the land, right? To either sell it or to take control of it for timber rights, for water rights, all these things. So they had to start dividing up this land, right? So the surveyor was the person that actually went out in the field and did surveys to divide the land up. Really,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So, like the original colonies were all divided up by surveyors, right? And then when we went through our Revolutionary War and we started to move west, we went into what we now know as public lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how the entire western United States was divided up into the rectangular land system, the public land survey system.
Mm-hmm.
Those rectangles that you see on the maps when you're out hunting on Onyx and all these different apps, all those squares of parcels were all created by public land surveyors.
Mm-hmm.
So surveyors that actually worked for the government and went out and subdivided the land. So the basis of that is surveyors create parcels out of huge, vast chunks of land, right? So that's kind of number one. And then number two is retracement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was originally, chunked out of a huge parcel into a 40-acre parcel, and you decide to go buy that parcel, and you want to know where your boundaries are. So we go retrace that. So that's the second step, right? So it's what we call following in the footsteps of the original surveyors, and that's recreating the boundary lines. Okay, so we're going to go out and you're going to buy that 40-acre parcel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to come out and show you on the ground exactly where the lines are, where the corners are, and everything associated with that. So that's kind of the basis of what we do. Fun fact, do you know how many surveyors are on Mount Rushmore out of the four?
Washington was.
Washington was. Good job.
Um,
If anyone knows
Jefferson?
at home, I don't.
Jeff-
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know which ones were, but
this wasn't on the cheat sheet.
it wasn't on the cheat sheet. But
This
it's a
is
fun.
dirty.
It's a fun fact I always like. So 3 of the presidents on Mount Rushmore were originally surveyors.
Okay.
So
So
just
George, I got one out of 3.
so yeah, George
I'm in the Hall
was.
of Fame.
I don't remember. I'd have to Google it and look it up. I don't remember that. So that's
you come
kind
with a
of.
fun fact, you don't even know the answer.
I just can't remember anything.
I'm just busting you.
So if anyone knows at home, let us know. But I don't remember. I know Washington was just because that's kind of my favorite one. So the basis of surveying is creating.
That's how we ended up with so much land in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, that's a different story. I won't get into here, but the basis of surveying is creating boundaries and recreating boundaries. That's where it all started, right? That's,
Accurately.
funny story is not that accurately
Sometimes.
to begin
Yeah.
with. So we can touch on that. Nowadays, yes, we're very accurate. We have the best equipment. We can do super accurate measurements, right? So that's the basis, right? So
we see some of these pieces, I see it on the buying and selling side. Some of these pieces haven't been surveyed since the 1800s. Literally. Or had an updated survey.
Yeah, so yes, and
roads used to go through it, like
yeah.
horse and buggy roads. Used to go through properties and stuff like that. So
this is where I go back to hunting, right? So this is an interesting topic I love to talk about in our area. So I do a lot of surveying in Ontario County, where I grew up, Gorham, is one of my favorite places. That's where I grew up, but it's one of my favorite places to survey. Why? Because a lot of the farm tracts in Gorham have not been surveyed. Okay, a lot of them. And the only way to figure out the boundaries are to follow evidence of the boundary of back in the 1800s, late 1700s, right? So what do we see when we're out hunting? When you're out hunting and you come to a boundary line, what do you typically see?
Larger trees.
Larger,
change of habitat.
Change of habitat, large trees. You ever see a fence going through a tree?
Yep.
Have you ever seen a stone wall that's 2 feet tall?
Mm-hmm.
So those are boundary monuments. They're artificial monuments created by somebody, sometimes surveyors, sometimes not. But a lot of times, like I notice it all the time when I'm hunting or hiking, that you see fence line going through a tree, a stone wall, a big row of old trees, mature trees, 120 feet tall. Most of the time, those are boundary lines, or they're very close to a boundary line.
Yep.
And Gorham especially, a lot of these old farms follow those fence lines, tree lines, stone walls. Middlesex has a lot of stone walls in it with the shale down there, shale bedrock. So that's kind of a cool thing. So if you guys are ever out hiking, if you're out hunting, you're scouting, you're shed hunting, and you see a big old row of huge trees, I'm talking like 20-inch DBH and bigger, old barbed wire fence going through them, those are survey lines. Those are boundary lines most of the time.
In a ballpark.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool deal of how we see it around where we are.
Sure.
Not typical everywhere, but where we live.
Sure. Because you got to think, as time rolls on, and I mean, now that I'm older and I've spent some time outside, I remember when like that woodlot used to be a field, and now it's a small developing woodlot and stuff like that. Brush lot, more brush lot now, I guess I'll call it.
Yep.
And then I remember, like we were talking the other day, me and my wife were, and I said that growing up we used to sled on my grandma's hill, and she was like, "Well, where would you sled on that hill?"
Yeah, right.
I said 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That hill was open.
Yeah.
Like.
Right. Yeah.
So stuff's changed. I mean, when we bought my dad bought our piece of property almost 20 years ago now. Same thing. With the property, it was all still apple orchard. Yep. There wasn't much trees coming up. Now, we're coming into spots where there's cherry.
Oh, mature.
Coming out and almost sawable size, not
right.
Ready to be cut by any means. But there's walnut. There's other pioneer type species that we see a lot in our woodlands here. Yep. We don't see as much poplar and stuff as a rule, unless it's in a wet area. And if it was in a wet area, we usually see ash, which our ash is dying out, which is now letting some of that cherry come up. We do have a few oak popping up here and there, which no idea where the mother oaks are because there's no bur oaks, but probably 100 years ago, before it was orchard, there could have been bur oaks there.
Sure.
Which is just cool. So,
but that's like what you're talking about, habitat, and like when I'm out surveying, and I'm sure it's true of a lot of other people, is when you're out surveying and you don't know where the boundary line is and you don't know where the corner is and you're trying to retracement, you're doing what we call reconnoitering, so you're reconning, right? So that's where that word comes from. It's a survey term. So when we're out looking for boundaries, you are gonna I talk to my guys all the time, like you got to look for changes of occupation, you have to look for changes in scenery, right? So if you're going from an ag field to a hard wood line and you're not quite sure where the boundary line is, you got to look for those habitat changes and figure out where, okay, this could be in this vicinity. And then as soon as you find that change, bigger trees, taller trees, kind of in a line, then you grab that in your head and like, okay, I'm pretty close. Then you start chasing that line. And I tell you, 9 out of 10 times when you find that change, or like ag field to hardwoods or a really nice hedgerow, and you start following that, you'll find ancient fences, so like barbed wire fences from the 1800s.
Or American wire is another one that we see a lot.
American wire.
More in this Wayne County region, we see a lot of
American wire. We have that as well. Wayne County definitely has more American wire. American wire fence, and then old like Doug fir fence posts and cedar fence posts. I see them all the time. Oh, yeah. They might be leaning over. But I was on a farm surveying.
But they're not rotten.
Manchester, and they were there, almost every single one of them.
Jefferson County, that farm I sold in Jefferson County this year had a bunch of that.
Yeah, and
Old fence posts.
it's so cool. So those are boundary lines typically, or very close within reason of the boundary line. So
some of them were interior pastures, but those were the ones that were in better condition, basically because they weren't out on the edge of all the stuff. But that's where the new hedgerows were.
So So why is that important? Well, it's important. So when we're out shed hunting, when we're out scouting, when we're looking at, we might be on a permission piece, and you don't have your phone on you, or you're just out on a whim. You're chasing a deer that you're tracking, and you start seeing those things. You see the fence line, you see a stone wall, you see a big line of tall, mature trees. That's a really good indication. Like, okay. I'm getting close to somebody else's boundary line. I might have to step back and go get permission from an adjoiner or something like that. That's a really good indication of how that kind of applies to an outdoorsman, really, in any sense.
Now, in some situations, too, that's a great thing, but because pieces have been subdivided from their original parcels as well, some of those indicators you might have crossed a property line before you got to that indicator.
Yeah,
there's no black and white thing to say that unless you hit posted sign potentially or something to give you another indicator. But that's another thing that we see a lot is, and I say that to some folks, is when we're walking to pieces, I think this used to be one of 3 or 4 parcels that are surrounded on this piece. So I know you want to taste it.
Real quick, we're trying for the bourbon of choice tonight is a Russell's Reserve Single Rickhouse 2025 edition, right? It's kind of a bourbon that I've wanted to try for 3-4 years now. So
it's a little unicorn, and we found 2 of them this year.
I'm pretty excited to try this. So cheers. That's fantastic.
Told you it was going to be a little hotter though.
It's amazing.
But it doesn't drink like 128.
It drinks like
solid 110. Yeah. Wait for the chest feel. The chest feel afterwards starts wrapping over.
Flavor is insane. That's amazing. But
the only thing I was gonna say, because I had a pour of this the other night with my buddy Kyle. When he came over, we cracked it and opened it, and I honestly think it's a little bit better. I thought it was a little thinner than the 15. The 15 I remember was way more oily.
It definitely doesn't have the draw.
It doesn't feel like it has that much like thickness. It's got that thickness, but not a lot.
Yeah, that's really good though. So like that, I love vanilla, like caramel flavor bourbons, and this is right down my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's definitely not as. It was more tanniny.
Okay.
When we opened it.
Yeah.
It was kind of bitter.
Astringent. That was the word I was looking for earlier. So we're down on the neck a little bit on this bottle. So typically it tastes a little bit better when you get down on the
Some
neck.
People say
So that's what I.
Sometimes they get worse.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go back to them and we go, man, why we do?
Yeah.
But whatever.
So we're talking about these things and how it affects. I really like to think about how like surveying is really cool. I love it. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. But how does it really apply to like your podcast and what you guys talk about and why is it in what do we do for the everyday person? Okay. So we talked about the basis of surveying and boundary creation and boundary retracement. The next is topographic maps, right? So when we were all in high school, we looked at the USGS topographic maps, right? And we all had to do that for the Regents exam, New York State, and all that stuff. And this is a question I always ask the FFA students is, do you know where and who made those topographic maps?
I would say probably surveyors is what you're going to say.
Yeah, but they're all made by surveyors, okay? So that's back in the day when we were...
And then, like, what, Army Corps engineers, is that? That's who did wetland mapping.
Yeah, a little bit. Army Corps, yeah. So, but what we see, right? So on all the GIS information systems that were available online at the county level, the state level, but even further than that are now coming out on all the hunting apps, right? So you're going to click a button and you're going to see 5-foot contours, you're going to see 10-foot contours. So those topographic maps at the framework of all of it are all made by surveyors, right? So that data, that mapping is originally done most of the time by surveyors, especially the older hand-drawn ones are all.
There's sometimes, dude, I get into there and I wonder if they just took that day off. Because it's way steeper than it.
Yeah, so that
or not as steep.
There's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of misconceptions, I could say about that, especially lidar data. So all the hunting apps, all the contours that you see on Wayne County, Ontario County, not Monroe, but they're getting more in the
Monroe's
southern.
a lot flatter.
I'm talking about their GIS
Oh, okay.
system. So
Gotcha.
when you go on the GIS systems, everyone knows Encore if you're from Ontario County, but you can click the contours on, you can see that. You can pull up that information. That's all LiDAR data. So that's all fixed wing aircraft, remote sensing that's then put into.
bottom.
Yeah, so it's they're flying a plane at hundreds of feet tall, remote sensing and creating the LiDAR maps, and that's where the hunting apps, when you see the contours on the hunting apps, that's all state and federal LiDAR remote sensing data that is publicly available that you can go. I can show you in 10 minutes how to download it on your computer. So it's kind of a cool deal. Everyone thinks it's really special. It's on this app and I have to pay for it, but you can download it on your laptop and see the files if you have the right programming. So it's all publicly available information, which is really cool. And all that's done by surveyors, which I just think is cool because a lot of people don't know that. They see the lines on the map or the app, and they're like, "Oh, that's just that." But the people the guys and gals making that are the surveyors.
And it goes into the same thing with the wetland mapper and stuff like that. That was done. A lot of it historically in the past was done like Army Corps engineers and stuff like that. Historically.
Yep.
So
So topographic maps, you have large scale LiDAR, federally and state topographic maps based on LiDAR, but then you have like more localized topographic. Like if you called me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go on this vacant field and build a house," right?
And you want to see.
So the base, you're gonna want to know the grades. You're gonna want to know the elevations. So we create topographic maps for new houses, new commercial buildings at that small scale. Acre, 2 acres, 5 acres, whatever it might be. So you go from state level, federal level, all the way down to like localized, like this house lot, right? So that's a lot of what I do is small localized topographic mapping. So those are the two big things: boundary retracement, boundary creation, the boundary side of it, and then the topographic side of things. So we all, as outdoorsmen and outdoors ladies, we all have heard the word easement, right? So what is an easement to you, Ben?
Easement is a way of access to a property.
Okay, and who does it give that right to?
Depends.
Depends on what?
Depends on ownership of said easement, and how it's written into the deed or not written into the deed in some places where people think they have easements.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So it's a very big puzzle.
So
Depends,
basically,
I guess.
So that's another thing. So this is kind of like the third thing of what surveyors do is they create or map easements, right? So easements, or what we know as right-of-ways, right? So I see this all the time on private land. So there's blanket easements, there's descriptive easements, there's
utilities.
There's an easement for anything you can think of, to build a pipeline, to build a gas line, to walk across, to walk your dog across. It doesn't matter. You can make an easement for pretty much anything, and there's multiple different levels of easements. But so surveyors are the ones that create the easements on a map, and then actually plot them on the ground to show folks where their access is, right? To actually physically go on the ground and put stakes in the ground and say, "Ben, your access is through this area on the ground, and this is where you have to stay." So the people that do that on the ground and map those things are surveyors. So why is that important? Because we all like to access land. We all like to have that right. Yeah, that legal right to access that land. So the folks that do that are surveyors. And then writing legal descriptions for those things, and then get filed by attorneys and things like that. So I do a lot of that. I do a ton of easement work, private easements.
So I have a question.
Okay, I'm ready.
This is one that I hear from a lot of folks, and I've kind of been told different answers on it, so I guess I'll see if you got a different answer on it. Is there such a thing as a landlocked piece in New York?
I'm sure there's millions of landlocked pieces in New York. I see them every single day. I could have you open Encore and I could show you 20. But there's a difference between so you have to think about what you're saying and how it's defined. Okay?
So in my brain for landlocked is there's no access at all into that parcel, right of way, easement, or otherwise.
Everywhere you drive your vehicle and you see a landlocked piece, there's probably not an easement.
Interesting.
I see them all the time. All
Because
the
there's
time.
pieces of public that I've seen that are
Yeah.
surrounded by private.
So this goes back to, and we could go into the weeds real deep with this, but
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off
no,
trail here.
but it
It just popped in my
there's
head.
multiple different kinds of easements. There's written easements that are recorded at the county clerk's office that are of record going from. So say you want to walk across my property to access your hunting property. I can give Ben a legal easement written down with a legal description, a map, filed at the county clerk's office that follows your family till everyone's gone, right? That's a legal easement. But there's also prescriptive easements. So if you come on my land and you walk down the same trail, I'm not going to get into the weeds too much, but for X amount of years, and you do it year after year after year after year after year, and I don't stop you, you're not claiming ownership, you're not claiming anything like that, but you're using it and you're doing it consistently, you can get an easement, a legal easement, by just using that access point and nobody stopping you from using it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I mean there's different levels of easements, there's different types of easements.
Interesting.
So that's kind of getting in the weeds a little bit, but there's a lot of boundary law and survey law that gets into that.
I was going to say, so that would go to court or something like that.
It would absolutely
have to.
It would most likely high probability of going to court, and then a judge would make a decision.
Well, because it's not an issue until it's an issue.
Yeah.
Yep. So when it's an issue, it goes to court.
However, it does happen more than you think.
I'm sure.
Yeah, especially when
thousands of parcels.
And things being bought and sold as much as they are. You see that, right? So that's a big thing. So we've talked about all these things, all these maps. So in New York State, many other states, surveying's kind of cool because it's a licensed profession, right? So you can't just walk off the street and become a surveyor.
Mm-hmm.
In New York State, many other states, you have to be licensed. So in New York State, you have to take 2 federal exams. You have to take a state exam to become licensed. It's quite the process. Now New York State requires an education requirement, a 2-year degree or 4-year degree in land surveying technology. And then you have to go through the whole licensure process, which can be up to 8 years to be eligible to sit for the exams to become a licensed profession. So that's kind of, and I'm
sure that's not a free thing to do either.
No. It's more. It's not a huge monetary commitment, but it's more time.
Mm-hmm.
Like my survey application took me 5 months to do.
Yep.
I'm in the process of the exams right now, so it's a big deal. Why is it a licensed profession? Because licensed surveyors throughout the country are the only ones that can determine where boundary lines are and then create boundary lines. So that's why it's a...
Sure.
And then on the other side, on the topographic side, we're the only legal professionals that can actually produce topographic maps for design, for municipal use, things like that. So on that side of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which comes in big for, like you said, development, anything like that. Repairs or changes to roadways, anything like that. That's all got to get gone back through and surveyed. And
there's so many different caveats. So we kind of went over what land surveying is, why it's the license requirements. Do you have any questions before we kind of move on to the next bullet point? I will say.
Yeah. So I mean, we kind of went through that whole front section. I'm just looking at my cheat sheet list.
We have a cheat sheet, folks, because I'm kind of
land development, infrastructure.
I'll get into all that stuff.
Yep.
So
so I think.
Is there any questions or comments or anything from folks watching?
Vincent said thumbs up. We got a handful of people tuned on.
Cool. So awesome. Well, if you guys have any questions, this is why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of folks may have heard of what surveyors are and what we do, but seriously, if you have questions, let me know.
Mm-hmm. And so that's a question. And you and me have talked about this a little bit before. Are there areas that are better mapped than others?
Really depends on the county, and it really depends on the area. Like where I grew up, Gorham, like it's predominantly farmland, and a lot of it's never been surveyed. Like my family farm is 47 acres, give or take, because it's throughout the entire history of the parcel, it has never been surveyed ever. Literally never. In the parcels next to it, some of them have been surveyed and some of them have not been surveyed. So Yeah.
So
It depends.
I guess,
It
yeah.
depends. It greatly depends where you are. It's regional.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting like Gorham's getting more surveyed because we do a ton there. Wayne County, I'm doing more in, but it honestly just depends. Like you get little it's mostly
Well,
farmland.
because okay, so
Yeah.
do you need? So this is I think it's one of your questions.
Yep.
Do you need a surveyor to sell a piece of property in New York State?
No. No. So
Deed and legal description
yeah. So it all depends on.
and clean title. I mean that's
No, not
well,
true. So
you can assume.
it all depends on how the deal is structured, right? So
Yep.
I have folks that have paid cash, that waived a title search, that waived a survey. They waived everything under the freaking moon because they just wanted to pay this person cash and own the land. Seen that happen multiple times. When things get tricky is when they require title insurance and when they require a mortgage. And those go hand in hand because a bank's not going to take a risk on something that there's no insurance on.
Nor title search nor anything like that.
So that's where title insurance comes from, is all through the
and
mortgage company.
I will say 99% of attorneys will not bless it without title search either.
Yeah, so we're going right.
If you're doing a short, what do I want to say? It's not short straw.
A stub search.
Yeah, it's a quick claim deed.
Yeah, don't ever do a quick claim deed. So
you think you're saving money, but you could end up inheriting a bunch of headaches.
We're probably gonna have to have a part 2 of this to get into the weeds a little deeper because this is fun. Because Ben actually knows he knows some of the terms that most people don't know. So all right, so let's just say, why is surveying important? Why do I have a job? Why do all these folks have to have license? So the biggest one that we see for everyday life is real estate sales, like you're talking about. Like when people buy and sell a parcel, when they buy and sell a house, what is everything contingent on? What is the price contingent on 99.9% of the time? You know this.
That they're buying what they think they're buying.
And what is everything priced by?
In large scale transactions, per acre or square foot, home square foot.
Okay, so per acre. So who is the only licensed professional in the country to determine accurately acreage? Surveyors. So that's why it's important.
Yep. So I've done that, kind of play off of that. We've done always also too, when I write my contracts, it's plus or minus when I put the acreage, by the way. And then the tax parcel ID,
Yeah.
When I do that, you can structure it, and I've done it this way, where it is X dollars for the property, or it is X dollars per acre of the property.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that means purchase price is to be determined at blank per acre. I've done it both ways.
Yeah.
Typically, it's more common because people don't think in that aspect. They think they're buying it, which happens because you've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Surveys off 5-6 acres on a 100-acre piece.
Easy.
That's a handful of feet. Over a full border, that's a couple acres.
Oh yeah,
it can be.
Or more. Or I've done ones that are 10 acres off, 20 acres off.
Yep.
So that's the biggest thing for everyday people is real estate. The second one, and that's a huge one, right? Especially where we live, where there are these huge farm tracts, these huge hunting tracts, these big tracts that you're spending tens of thousands of dollars per acre. This is one thing I bring up all the time. I have clients and friends that have tons of acreage that they buy, and they waive a survey. And I'm like, you're paying so much money per acre, but you don't know the total acreage you're buying. You
could be buying on the front side or the
back
side.
So that boggles my mind why they do that. But hey, that's their prerogative. That's their decision. I present options and they go with it. So
and sometimes it depends on the situation too.
Yeah. Sure.
With the I guess we'll dive back into a little bit of my history, how my parents bought their piece of property. They bought it at tax sale. There was no survey.
Right. Yeah.
There was a copy that was given to us by a neighbor.
Right.
That his father used to own it a couple generations back in the day.
Yeah.
So there was a survey from then.
Yeah.
But
no modern survey.
Not fair. I mean, like 50 maybe. Okay. 50, maybe 60, something like that.
Yeah.
It was before the Chinaman kind of ended up in the interim between it, which is a whole another rabbit hole story we should dive into sometime with my dad. But yeah, so there was no survey on that.
Yep.
Like tax sales, you're not going to see a survey. It's not, like you said, it's not required. We see folks waive it.
It happens.
And sometimes, you know, banks typically 5 years. Maybe I've seen them let it go to 10 on a survey. If not, they want an update.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's pretty easy. If you call the company that did it, they'll do an update at typically a more reasonable fee because they've been there on site or had a crew there on site that's familiar with it. Not as much of the background legwork, hence lower cost.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I definitely say that if there's any kind of questions or whatever, some of these mapping softwares can get us in the ballpark.
Yeah.
But same time, when I'm out there, I'm looking for changes in property. And even when we're looking at it on the map, I remember looking at one in Brome County. Or Brome, I don't know.
Broome.
I pronounce it wrong.
It's Broome.
It's Brome.
Brome.
Like the grass, spelled the same. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
That's hilarious.
So anyway, Brome is a grass, by the way.
I didn't know that.
And it's spelled exactly like Brome County.
That's stupid.
Yeah, it's Brome County. Anyway, so smooth Brome, by the way. So I was down there on a piece, and he's like, show me the property lines further that way. I'm like, dude, we're standing on the big line of hemlock and oak right now. I'm like, no. I said that's a variant shift or something. I said I would put more money that it's right here. We went about 50 yards longer. Where it came up to the corner was Rocky Monumented out about 100 yards.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would trust this more than your phone and my phone.
Yeah.
Because they're both basically showing the same thing. He was using Onyx, I was using Land ID, just because that's what works with our website software and stuff like that. So but it can get you close, but it can also be way the hell off.
Yeah, so it all depends. So
it depends on how accurate the map is that gets
I'd like to touch on that
transposed
a little.
on it. So
I'd like to. We'll get into that. That's on the next one. I just really quick. I want to just make sure I touch all my touch all these bullet points, just so folks watching, just so the information gets out there. So we got real estate sales. Why is this important? Real estate sales, development, right? We talked about this. So anything built, bought, or sold has to be surveyed, right? If you're going to build a house, most likely has to get surveyed. If you're going to build...
If you're backing it with any kind of bank money or anything like that, your lender's going to want that insulated.
Well, even more than that, most municipalities require site plan. Engineered site plan, which requires...
For builds.
Which requires a topographic survey.
Oswego County.
Yeah, but
spoiler alert.
A lot of... In our area, a lot of municipalities require a full-blown engineered site plan, which requires a topographic map, and then development. So what are we talking about development? These massive subdivision tracts that you see going along the thruway, going through Victor, Farmington, all these things. Like all these tracts are what we call major subdivisions, and those are all designed and laid out by surveyors most of the time.
So you're saying like 20 parcel division kind of things? Or?
So a major subdivision is any subdivision that has a new road going through it. So like if you're going up 332 on through Farmington and you see these housing tracts that have new roads with multiple parcels, that's a major subdivision. Minor subdivision is like if you have 20 acres.
You make a cul-de-sac?
No. A minor subdivision is like you have a 20 acres and you're going to sell 4 acres to build a house on for Nora. So that's a 2-lot minor subdivision. There's no road.
Nothing's just getting infrastructure-wise.
Yeah, there's no sanitary mains. There's no storm mains. There's no water mains. It's just taking up farm lot, chunking off 5 acres to build a house. I do those every single day. That's a minor subdivision. So development, that's what I talk about is land development, subdivisions, minor, major subdivisions. That's a huge part of what I do is land development. These subdivisions that you see from 2 lots up to, we have one that's, like 190 lots in Gorham. So land development, that's big. So next one is infrastructure. Talk to the kids all the time about this. When you're on the road, how many times do you drive by a construction site?
Seems like every day now. Go out towards Syracuse.
Yeah, so if you were driving down throughway and you see a road being built or redone or a bridge being redone, I can guarantee you that every centimeter of that bridge and every centimeter of that road was surveyed. So infrastructure, bridges, roads, tunnels, anything to do with transportation of anything, whether it's gas, electric, water, cars, anything like that, every piece of that ground is surveyed. Before, like
During.
before, during, and after.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have friends that work for companies that all they do is road construction. For surveying before it, surveying during construction, make sure it's being built right, and then an as-built survey to make sure it's done right, as well as bridges. Bridges is a big one.
Yep.
So infrastructure. So at the state level, at the federal level, there's a lot of companies that have municipality divisions that's all they do. Bridge work, right of ways, tunnels. New York City,
Sure.
they do a lot of tunnel work.
Sure.
So that's like the next biggest one. Okay, natural resources. You talk about wetlands,
Mm-hmm.
right? So part of what I do in my job is I actually write descriptions and easements for natural resources like wetlands or hunting lands.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're actually gonna go chunk out. We're gonna take a 100-acre piece and we're gonna do a forever wild area at 20 acres, and we'll actually draw that on a map, give it a legal description, and that will be filed with the federal government and the county, and there'll be a map.
It's listed on the deed.
And it's listed with the deed, with the parcel, for the life of the parcel.
Yep.
So those natural resource boundaries.
Sometimes they're in perpetuity, other times they're in year.
Yep,
allotments.
exactly. Yep. So I've done quite a few of those where we actually go out, and it's really cool to me.
I have one that I want to list, but it's got an easement on it to like 2054.
Yeah. So like I did one in Bristol that had a USDA forever wild easement on it that was completely surveyed, mapped. It had pins at the corners of the easement, and it was literally for duck habitat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so cool. It was all surveyed by USDA
Mm-hmm.
surveyors or monuments, all the corners. There were T-posts with conservation area.
Mm-hmm. We had one
vinyl.
of those we sold in Ontario County this past year.
Yep. So probably did that one.
Mm-hmm.
We
that
do.
Was on. Oh shoot.
We do a lot of that. So that's pretty
that
cool.
Was on.
Mm-hmm.
It was heading south, right hand side, ag fields, part of the
Green.
edge. Yep.
I did that.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They had the duck ponds.
I think there was a.
I took a picture of your sign and sent it to you that day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was last year. Yep.
We had a comment roll in from Bo, which kind of goes in line with obviously everything we're talking about because it's a survey statement. Said, I believe my survey. It's determined by Chang lengths, not feet, is how it's listed on his.
Well, funny thing, Bo, is chains and feet are the same thing.
It's just a measurement of feet.
So let's get this, Bo. Thank you, because this rolls right into my next bullet point. Is
like we planned it. Thank you, Bo.
The public land system. So we are what you call a meets and bounds state. So we have deed descriptions that are based on bearings and distances and directions, and it's basically there's no rhyme or reason where your boundary is where it is originally. So when you get into the public land system, you're going out west, like west of Ohio, where it all started. You're going to look at a map.
Is that why everything's a square out there?
It's exactly why everything's a square. Okay, it's a square mile.
Because they figured out what they were doing.
It's square mile by a square mile.
Country blocks.
So they kind of figured it out. So just real quick, when the United States became the United States, they had all this land. They had to figure out they basically had to inventory how much land they had. The only way to inventory this land was to go survey it. How did they survey it? They basically decided to make it a rectangular land system. I would invite you to go on any hunting app, anything on the internet, and just look at the parcels in the western portion of this
west
country,
of the Mississippi,
basically. And it's all rectangles. Everything you look at is going to be rectangles, and that's all laid out with a compass and a chain. So what is a chain? A chain is a physical metal steel chain that was either 33 feet long or 66 feet long, and that's how the entire country was surveyed originally, when it was originally subdivided in all the townships, the sections, the quarter sections, the quarter sections, was all done with a 66-foot or a 33-foot chain and a compass or a fancy compass like a transit or something like that, a way to determine angles. That's how the entire country, basically west of the Mississippi, was surveyed. So the survey, a chain bow, is just a way to measure 66 feet. Yeah. So when you look at a deed and it has chains and links, that's just a different nomenclature for feet.
Yeah.
Is all it is. Yep. But that's how all of New
But
York.
that's how a lot of it was written.
Yes and no.
Do
Yeah,
some
back in
guys
the
still write in chains?
no, but back in the day, I say back in the day, like 1800s, a lot of them were chains and links,
Okay.
and they're pretty accurate.
Yep.
Okay. Here's a kicker though, Bo. When you're reading a deed, and it's in chains and links. That is slope distance. It is not distant.
Linear.
It
It's
is
not
not
flat distance.
It is not flat distance. So when you're using a hunting app, when you're using a GIS to measure distance on anything like that, that is horizontal distance. When you're reading a deed or
acres measured flat, like
yeah,
a piece of paper.
right. So when you're looking at chains and links distances, they are along the ground. So you go into Wayne County and you're going up and down drumlins, your chains and links distance, your slope distance is going to be way different than your ground or horizontal distance.
Interesting.
Yeah, so kind of a cool fact like that, because no matter how you try to break chain, it's hard as hell to go up a drumlin and not.
Yeah. So, and I've tried to explain this to people with properties and stuff like that. So, that's what I tell them. I said an acre is measured like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So what you get, and I say this is, I always preface it with like, this is not the right term. But when you put topography in a property, you get more cubic acres of surface area of
volume.
Yeah.
Volume. Yeah. So so that's another thing that you can touch on too is, so I didn't even think about this, but you have water rights, you have mineral rights, you have air rights. Okay, this is what we call a bundle of rights in a deed. Okay, so you said quitclaim deed and a warranty deed.
Sure.
Quitclaim deed carries no warranty to title.
Yep.
So basically,
warranty is
if anything happens during your transaction, like the grantee, the buyer is pretty much screwed. But like we call it the bundle of rights. So that's the bundle of rights, mineral rights, which would be like oil and gas, timber,
or GMT,
timber rights.
What we basically call it as a whole.
Timber rights, all these things can be
solar. I mean, there's a million different rights.
There's a ton, and those are all within a deed. Okay, so you can transfer those bundle of rights in a deed. That's the only way you can transfer those things is in a deed. Where do those deeds come from? Surveyors. So that's kind of the root of that is kind of the bundle of rights of what you have within your land, within your parcel or easements, right?
So that's how folks go about selling off said rights or whatever, or retaining those rights, and that's when and that's when we see that where it's like retained by an owner. We see that sometimes. More on the gas side because I think we're going to drill in this green state of New York that we live in. It's not impossible, but I don't think it's likely. But in that, they're rewriting the deed, so they rewrite on the retainer of the ownership rights to previous owner.
And there's a lot of legal lingo that goes into it that changes things.
Like you have to be licensed to be an attorney to do that side of it.
Yeah, so and you can go really deep into the weeds on that, survey law and boundary law and all these things, but the way a deed is constructed is very important. It's the most important thing. Little caveat here, we're talking about all these things, and the most things people see from a survey standpoint, as far as the client, is a map, right? A map carries very little weight in a legal sense if it's not called for in a deed. So like I did a boundary map of this parcel. Okay.
He did before I knew you.
Yeah.
Or it was like
during.
Yeah, when I knew you.
During. Yep. So if your deed doesn't call for the map that I do, that map carries very little legal weight. So that's one thing a lot of people don't know. Is like my house has a modern survey from 2020, but the deed is from like 20 years ago. So it pretty much makes that, and the map's not filed. So it pretty much makes.
So that's the other thing is filing and recording.
So if your map's not filed and it's not called for in the deed, it pretty much is damn near weightless in a legal standpoint.
Which I also have never understood that sometimes where these folks we get on parcels. Doesn't happen a lot, but it happens where they get a map and everything, and they don't file it.
You want to know why?
They don't take it and file it with the county or whatever.
Yeah, you want to know why?
It's an extra $10, $20.
Because they're cheap bastards.
It's an extra $10 or $20 to file.
So file your freaking survey maps, okay? Yep. And it's not to make my life easier, which is just kind of a bonus, but it's to make that map powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's so that map carries weight legally. So
Mm-hmm.
if it ever goes to court,
Yep.
your attorney can say to the judge, well, this is a filed, recorded map at the county level, the state level, whatever that might be.
So this is a good question by Bo. So he says, so with using a chain, I'm actually losing land because it goes with the topography? No, well, I guess in an uphill sense you would lose acreage,
You
but any
never
place in downhill you would.
you never lose land, Bo, ever.
Yep.
Ever.
Just the measurement
You
of it.
never lose land. That is Bo, thank you. That is probably one of the most creative questions I've heard in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good question. So just because the way a surveyor measures something changes doesn't change where your boundary line is, and it doesn't change the acreage you have. Like,
Yes.
as a whole, like,
Mhm.
okay, we might be able to measure acreage out to a further decimal point,
Mhm.
okay, but you're not, in the essence of you standing on your piece, you are not losing or gaining land. You still own the same amount of land. It's
Mhm.
precision, right? How precise can you be with a measurement?
Yep.
A chain is not a very precise way of measurement. Using GNSS, GPS that we use now, it's accurate to 3/100ths of a foot, right?
Mhm.
So it's about the thickness of your fingernail.
Which he gave me crap for when I was putting the camera
Yeah,
up to start the show. He said it
drove me
wasn't
nuts.
level.
But Bo, honestly, that's a really good question. So just because you can measure something better doesn't mean it changes what you own or
Mhm.
what the land measurement is, right? So if like if
It may be different.
I guarantee you it's going to be different.
Mhm.
Guarantee you it's going to be different.
So that's another thing that I can say to folks too is
Yeah.
if it was measured like you're saying in a chain and it showed 76 acres.
Yep.
Let's just use that as
Yep.
the example.
Yep.
It showed 76 acres and then a survey's come in and updated on it.
Mm-hmm.
The corners didn't change,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
but now it's 71 acres.
Yeah, and that's very common. I see it all the time.
So nothing changed other
Yep.
than the way in which that line was measured to calculate that acreage. Correct.
Yes. So it's just the precision of the instrumentation used to measure it, right? So
Mhm.
it would be like when you're out shooting grade and you're using like a laser level, right?
Mhm.
It's an old school
Sure.
laser level versus machine control on a bulldozer.
Yep. Right.
What's going to be more accurate? Machine control on a bulldozer with GPS or a hand level, laser level? It's just a tool in the toolbox, right? But that truly is an amazing question because I don't get that question that often.
Mm-hmm.
But you see it in a legal standpoint a lot.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, that goes back to how we draft contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Always it's plus or minus.
Yep.
That is a term that is, there is no plus or minus like variant of sway.
So there is.
Okay.
So there
This
is.
this is new to me.
Yeah. So like say you say it's
100 acres plus or minus.
plus or minus 10 acres.
So there needs to be like a unit.
So
attached to
there
that?
typically is, and it can vary, but like yeah, so like in surveying terms, like if I gave you like 14.1 acres plus or minus, it could be off 10/10ths plus or minus because I gave it to the nearest tenth of a decimal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
No.
So it's
making me question how I write contracts now.
so, but no, most people don't know these things. But so it's just we use plus or minus. I use plus or minus all the time. It's when you're not that certain.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it means, right? Is
Yeah.
you're not that certain. But why is it important? It's because you may not know to that precision of what you are going to buy or sell,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's
Well, and a lot of times we're also going off of when we're listing a property, we're going off of the tax bill.
Yep.
Is what we require as a brokerage now for proof of ownership.
Yep.
And that typically has the acreage listed on it. So that's
Yep.
usually what we use as our reference for the plus or minus, or what the landowner says and can show with a survey map filed or filed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, so that's why we do plus or minus. It's
Yeah.
kind of a COA on us.
Yes, and that's there's absolutely nothing wrong with that from my perspective. So, um, I'm just going on the checklist here, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need a survey? So I will give you my opinion. I think that question is highly opinion driven. Why do you need a survey? Why I freaking want a survey is because I want to freaking know what I own.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
I don't want any question in what I own or what I'm selling. And I'm talking acreage. I'm talking improvements like buildings, structures,
Monuments.
roads.
Yep.
All I want to know what I own or
Mm-hmm.
what I'm selling. That's why I think you need a survey. Because other than your family and your kids, what's the most important thing you will ever own or have? Your property, right?
Yep.
So to me, that's why I think it is the foundation of that. Or you might need a survey for construction of a new pole barn, a new house, an easement that you want to give to somebody.
Sure.
All these things. So that's probably in our local sense here. It's you're buying or selling land, or you're developing land. That's probably the.
Or there's a boundary dispute.
That's another
time where
I don't like to talk about that because. I mean, I do.
You're gonna be somebody's best friend, and you're gonna be somebody's worst enemy.
I don't give a shit about any of that. It's just I could go down the weeds hard. But yes, if you have a boundary dispute, which I do run into all the time, the first thing you should do is hire a surveyor and an attorney if you have a boundary dispute. But yes, this happens all the time, especially on the lakes. Which we live around a lot of lakes, so you can guess how many boundary disputes I run into on a yearly basis.
This is a question Bo had. We're leaning right into ChatGPT on this one, Keith. So bear with it. You're talking about topography and using the paper analogy to explain contour lines, how it's measured.
Yep.
Got me wondering if I took the topographic map of my property and put it into ChatGPT, could it calculate surface area of the land and not just flat acreage? How accurate do you think something like that would be?
It really depends, right?
And how it would be interpreted.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like acreage, so when acreage is measured, it's always flat. It's not slope, right?
It's a flat.
So you got to think 2D.
It's A to B, B to C, C to D, D
yeah,
to A.
so the basis of it is 2D, 3D.
Yep.
Right? So all survey plat mapping is flat. So as you're looking down on the map, right, 2D. When you get into 3D, different world, right?
That's where we get into that cubic acreage that
very,
I kind of talk about.
Very different world, and
that's not a proper term of cubic acreage, by the way.
But you're talking. It's just volume, right?
It's
volume.
Yeah,
you're talking volume. So
volume of airspace above your land.
You could go into. We could have an entire conversation about this, but in the survey world, acreage is purely based on flat measurements. Okay, that's kind of the nitty-gritty of it. We, as a surveyor, for boundary only, we do not get into acreage for topographic. The only time we get into volume, which does happen quite a bit,
retention areas?
No, commercial properties when we're doing stormwater pond construction, and when we're
retention type area stuff.
Yes, retention, but it's not on survey side. That's more engineering side.
Sure.
And then you're getting into more cuts and fills. Like if you have to box out 3 feet for a driveway that's 800 feet long, an engineer is going to calculate how many 10-wheeler loads of fill they're going to take out and how much stone they have to get in. So that's going to get into the world of estimating for the trucking to take the fill out, trucking to get the stone in, the cost per ton of stone. But he has a point, is all that is based on an accurate topographic survey. If the topographic survey is not accurate, the engineer has poor accuracy of information for their engineering, and their cut and fill will be off, which changes their volume, which changes their estimate. And guess who they blame when that's off?
The surveyor.
This guy.
Because he made the measurement.
This guy. So it does matter. Does it happen a lot? In my world, only on the commercial side, really. Commercial site planning, engineering.
Gotcha.
When the engineers come and say, hey, you did this wrong, and I say, no, I didn't. Here's why. But yeah, I had a project that happened to me in a bad way last year with that, and I actually had to go back to all my metadata and figured out and proved them that.
Had to show your work.
Oh yeah, to like the nth degree.
Had to go back had to go back like a high school math test to show your work.
It was worse than that. There were
Sure.
there were a lot of swear words and beers drank over that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was not that fun. But thanks, Bo. I need to meet Bo because he has all the good questions.
We keep saying we got to meet Bo. Actually, Bo, I'm going to be down at the Great American Outdoor Show Monday through Wednesday this
week?
coming week.
Where's Bo from?
New York. Out I want to say out Utica way, I think is what he said.
Utica.
We
just did a Ford dealership out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long travel distance for you
I
guys.
didn't. I subcontracted that shit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. You said we.
Mark's Engineering did
sure.
Ford dealership out there.
Sure. Jeff Ames said some are to a center line of a road versus some have a 33-foot setback off of a center line. That could change acreage with a lot of road frontage.
This is man, I'm so glad we're doing this. This is probably, what is his name?
Jeff Ames.
Jeff, thank you, Jeff. This is an amazing question. So, very, very good question. We're talking taxable acreage versus acreage you own in this question, okay? So
I love where this is going.
Most deeds in our area, I say our, Ontario County.
Finger Lakes region kind of stuff, yeah.
Most deeds go to the center line of a right-of-way, not a road.
Okay.
What is a road to you?
A road is a state or town maintained.
What?
They own it. It's typically.
But when you think about a road, what do you see in your head?
Yellow center line.
Okay, that's not a road. That's asphalt.
Okay.
So a road, by definition, is a right-of-way.
Okay.
With a certain width through a tract of land, right? And the most important thing you can understand about that is it's a right-of-way with a defined width that somebody owns, right? Whether it's the landowner or it's the state or federal government, right? So why is this important? Most deeds go to the center line of the right-of-way, not the pavement.
So wherever the right-of-way is, it might be one way or the other from the center line.
You can't tell me that when these towns, counties, and states are out putting pavement down, they have a surveyor tell them where to put it. So the takeaway is the asphalt is not always centered in the right-of-way. Why is this important? Exactly what he's talking about. So most deeds go to center line. So your mapped area of what you are buying is truly to center line because that's what your deed reads.
But the center line was established before the road was put in.
Exactly.
I'm following it.
Why is this important? Because you're only taxed on the acreage to the road line or the right-of-way.
By your township or county.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whether it's a town road, village road, state road, federal road, or U.S. route. So your taxable acreage is only to the edge of the right-of-way, up to that road line, what we call a road line or right-of-way. But you truly own and have rights to the center line.
For said driveway or whatever.
Doesn't matter, but no, what you own
okay.
is to the center line if your deed says to the center line.
So I can go out there and start ripping up pavement. No, I'm just kidding.
You could. You might get fined, but you could. Right? So I would have to look at your map.
You'd have to have it surveyed.
But that's
you'd have to have it surveyed to justify that.
Or you could just read your deed and see what your deed says. If the deed says to the center line of the road, you own to the center line of the road. But you're not taxed to this. You're not taxed to the center line of the road.
Good conversation piece, Jeff.
That was a really good question.
Really good one. Bo says, I just looked it up. ChatGPT'd it. He said, it said if I use LiDAR, it could be very close to accurate.
It depends on the LiDAR, and we should have a discussion on LiDAR. I was just talking about this at work. So LiDAR is only as good it's only as accurate as your ground control that is set by surveyors. I have LiDAR in the town of Hopewell for huge development that was 3 feet off vertically.
3 feet, Keith, that's no big deal.
That's no big deal.
Until it rains.
Yeah, until it rains or you got shit running uphill.
It makes a huge difference for any kind of pitch for leach fields or runoff or any kind of stuff.
So
change of grade.
Storm sewers, sanitary sewers, swales. Okay, 3 feet is 3 feet. So I see in Ontario County all the time inaccuracies up to around 3 feet vertically with LiDAR versus ground data. So LiDAR is only as good as the survey control that it's built on.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be super, super good in certain areas of the state or the county or the town or whatever. And then you could go one county over or one town over and it could be garbage.
Yep.
It just depends.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we had another question come in, and then Jeff kind of answered that. Kind of similar to how I think you're going to answer it. Question from my mom comes in. What happens if a new survey doesn't match the existing pins that are present?
So basically, so in the world, yes, Ben.
What if somebody moved your pins, Keith?
In New York State, it is illegal against the law to remove any survey monuments. That is a state law. You can call the New York State Troopers. Don't call the sheriff. Call the New York State Troopers if someone moves your pin. I have this happen more than you think. It is against the law to move a pin. Mm-hmm. So
if the survey doesn't match the existing pins,
I don't even know what to say. This is another amazing. Is this from Jeff again?
That was my mom.
Oh, your mom?
Yeah.
Very cool. That's
I'm
a really
sure,
good.
I'm sure her
really
or my
question.
dad know the answer to that.
It's a really good question.
Maybe they're
So
just curious about it.
When a surveyor prepares a survey map and a survey description that follows that map, it is a representation of their opinion of the boundary. So this goes back to why we have to be licensed, mm-hmm. because we have to make an opinion on where the boundary line and boundary corners are. Mm-hmm. Okay. This also goes back to how was that monument set? Was it set with a chain and a compass? Mm-hmm. Or was it set with a total station, or was it set with the best GPS that money can buy, right? Mm-hmm. If you go back into the 1800s and it was set with a chain and a compass, I can almost guarantee you it's probably not where the corner is.
He might not have set his magnetic declination. He might not.
Whatever. But I'm just saying it's rudimentary, right? Mm-hmm. Versus where I go set a pin now with very, very high accurate GPS, that pin's going to be way closer than where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. This is a very, very important part of surveying. A monument, be it an iron pipe, rebar in the ground, concrete, whatever it is, that is marking a point on the boundary. That is not your corner.
It's a reference marker.
It's basically a reference marker only, okay? Because when a surveyor sets a rebar, there's going to be error. You're going to pound it in the ground. It's not going to go perfectly straight. It's going to hit a rock. It's going to get tilted. It's going to move, right? Mm-hmm. A tree falls on it and hits that rebar and it moves. Does that mean your boundary moves? No. Right? It is not.
It's still the same place on the piece of paper.
It is exactly... No, not the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The ground. Your corner doesn't move because that rebar or pipe gets hit by a tree or it gets hit by a mower. Mm-hmm. You're out there brush hogging and you whack a rebar and it moves half a foot. Your boundary doesn't move. So, boundary monuments move all the time. Freeze thaw. See it all the time? They come up and move with freeze thaw. Getting hit by a mower. Tree falls on it. A monument is just truly a monument, so you can walk up and get in the vicinity of your corner. It's just a marker, mm-hmm. but it's not where your corner is.
Interesting.
Very, very, very good question. Mm-hmm. Yes, and most surveyors don't know that.
So I guess dial that back just a little bit. So you're saying if I walk up to my corner, obviously it would be referenced in said deed description.
Hopefully.
Okay. It's referenced in the deed description that it's 5 feet beyond. Like, explain how that would be, I guess, possibly written out in a deed description for a monument that isn't your physical corner.
Happens all the time. So perfect example around here is in gullies.
Okay.
Right? So you
Center line of creek as a border?
Exactly. So you have a parcel that...
So does that change... Okay, go ahead. Finish your thing.
Yes, it does. Your answer is yes.
I know, that's a good question.
So
and we'll say that
your boundary line, that happens all the time around here. Your boundary line goes along, along your neighbor, your joiner. It goes along the line for 5,000 feet, and then it goes down to a gully, and the deed reads along the center line of the creek, right? The creek moves, it gets washed out. A surveyor is not going to set a pin down in the creek. What they're going to do is they're going to set a monument up on the top of a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And
on
that's
either side, hopefully.
Yeah, and then what that's called is a POL, or a point on line, right? So we see that all the time, and you actually see it along lakes a lot, right? So along the lakes in New York State, Kennebec Lake, Seneca Lake, all the Finger Lakes, almost all of them, you own to the mean high water mark. But you'll have pins along the shoreline, and that's a POL, point on line. It's just a reference marker so you can know where your boundary line is, but that's not where your corner is. It's not where your property ends. Mm-hmm. So the creek is a really good example. Most places in New York State, unless it's navigable, you own to the center line of the creek, whether you know it or not. You do, and no one's going to set a monument in the middle of the creek, right? So
washes, gravel goes over the top of it.
So here's that's a really good point. So, but say I go out and do a survey of your property in Wayne County, and a tree has fallen on the pin, and it moved 0.8 of a foot, right? Mm-hmm. And I put my GPS on there and I measure it. I get a location and then I put that on the map, and it's 0.8 of a foot off the corner. I'm going to put a note, any good surveyor is going to put a note on the survey that shows the tie distances for that monument. It's 0.8 to the west, it's 0.2 to the north. So why is that important? You can go walk up to that, measure over, and know where your corner is on the ground.
So can you put a pin physically on the corner? Can you put a monument physically
This is going to sound really dumb, but you can put it as close as your instrumentation allows you to. Right? Because every instrument uses as error. Mm-hmm. So it's never going to be exactly on the corner. Mm-hmm. So that's important to know. Like, just because there's a rebar there, is it close to the corner? Probably. Mm-hmm. Again, why is it important to be licensed to be a surveyor? Is we measure things, but we know what to measure and if it is the correct measurement.
Sure.
You know? Mm-hmm. So that's a really good question. Sorry to get in the weeds on that.
So Jeff's answer to that was a new map should give the correction of how far the pin is off the actual corner.
And that's exactly what we just talked about. Mm-hmm. Offsets.
It has a reference.
As a reference. And some people don't do that, and I just don't know why, because it doesn't present any value to the client, right? So like when we do surveys and a pin's more than 0.3 of a foot off, we give tie distances. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at that map, you walk out there.
So when we're saying it's off, we're talking less than a foot, typically.
In my world,
from a corner.
In my world, it's 0.3 of a foot.
Okay.
So about
3 inches.
No, less than 3 inches.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't measure in tenths.
Survey world is tenths.
We measure deer in eighths, so I don't know anything about tenths.
Yeah, 4/8 freaks. So that's actually a really good question.
So we're not talking it's like 5 feet of difference or something like that. We're just talking that there's
a difference.
If it was,
every surveyor is going to have a different threshold of where they show ties distances, and there's surveyors that don't show any, and I'm like, why? Because it doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't present value to the person getting that map, right? Mm-hmm. So, just because there's a monument there doesn't mean that that's your corner. Mm-hmm. Is kind of the walk away. But if you have a map in front of you and it shows a symbol and it says iron pipe found, and the deed reads 500 feet to an iron pipe, and you go out there, you go the 500 feet, rougher, using your phone, you find an iron pipe. And it's on the map, and it says 0.2 this way, 3 feet this way.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and you'll see that
you know where you're supposed to be.
They could have 2, 3, 4 different types of monuments on a parcel. I've seen that. I've seen iron pipe. I've seen rebar. I've seen pile of stone.
Not uncommon.
The big oak tree in deed descriptions.
The funniest one I had was a tractor axle. In Gorham.
I mean, it's not wrong. It's part of the legal description when they did. The measurement.
Yep, exactly.
It was there.
Yep, exactly. And in the olden days, people just used what they had. There's an entire subdivision in Canandaigua that has gin sprockets from a factory, and that's the monument.
Yeah, they're gin.
It's a little sprocket, metal sprocket, and the whole subdivision is monumented with these stupid little metal sprockets. The whole thing. That's what they used.
Very interesting. I can't wait to see what the clip thing starts chopping up for this.
So how do you find your corners, Ben? Tell me how you find your corners.
Call a surveyor.
Or
look at your deed description and your survey map.
Let's just get to the punchline. What are you going to use?
ChatGPT. No, Onyx.
Most people are going to use an app, right?
Yep.
So most people are going to use an app, right? And so these apps have power, right? They may get you close to a boundary line. They may help you find a corner, okay? So the important thing from a survey standpoint is know the limitations of these apps. Whatever app you want to use, just know the limitations.
Great example of that. I was looking at a map the other day. You can see a clear, definitive habitat change.
Yep.
Of what looked to be old pasture versus mature hardwoods.
Yep.
That line shows that it is 20 feet back into the woods.
Yep.
When out there, the trees are big, hard edge trees.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Onyx line correct?
Probably not.
So like I said, there's other things you can look at for characteristics.
The only thing, so we could get, Ben knows this is a interesting subject for me, but I
poke him with it.
The biggest takeaway for apps is knowing their limitations and knowing their purpose, right? So the biggest takeaway with these apps is all of the apps, all of them. I've looked at all of them. All of them show tax map parcel.
That's how they pull it. That's how they pull all the parcel lines.
Which is
it's tax data.
It is so a tax map parcel line is not a boundary line. And that's what I'll leave that at. So they show tax map parcel lines. Parcel lines are not. Tax map ID parcel lines are not boundary lines. If you have a question, a serious question of where your boundary is, then that's a good time to call a surveyor and not use an app. However, there's a caveat. You have a map in front of you. You've read through the deed. You say, oh my God, this is 1,000 feet to this iron pipe, right? And you start going 1,000 feet, and you get out into the thickest, nastiest shit you can't even think of, right?
Rosebush,
You
honeysuckle,
don't know
tangle.
which way is up, okay? A really easy, quick way to get in the vicinity within 50 feet of that corner may or may not be an app, okay? Because I have been in situations where, like, this is bad. Like, we don't know where we're supposed to be because it is just so, not using GPS, using traditional measurement tools.
Which is always heavy leaf out when it's miserable, isn't it?
Yeah, so using a hunting app or whatever you want to use, it can get you in the vicinity. The caveat to that is if you have a map that says, okay, I'm going to find a rebar 1,000 feet down this line, and the survey is done by Ben Williams Surveying, okay?
Not a licensed surveyor.
So, but this is important. So
Sure.
you use your app, you go to 1,000 feet, you're in the vicinity, and you look at the app, you're like, oh man, I'm at the corner. And you look down, and 15 feet over is a rebar with a plastic cap on it that says Ben Williams Survey.
Mm-hmm. We see that all the time.
Okay, that's probably the corner. The hunting app allowed you to get close using the deed and using the map and some common sense. You are able to deduce, like, okay, this is the actual corner, that's the actual monument, but the hunting app could get you close. But just know,
I usually say typically within sight distance, relatively. I said, but if you have any questions or concerns with it, I would recommend surveying the parcel.
A caveat to that is I have used a hunting app in Wayne County, and it was 500 feet off. I used one in Gorham, and it was 250 feet off.
Yeah, that's true.
Why? Because it was never surveyed and the tax map was wrong. So just remember that when you're using hunting apps. Yeah.
Bo's like, they're stealing more of my land.
Yeah, they probably are, Bo. Get those bastards.
Last one from Jeff, and this is a good question. I think this is, well, yeah, we'll hit Jeff's and we'll hit our last three. If anybody has like a really hot button one, we'd love to answer it. Yeah. But I want to make sure, because Keith's got some really good ones. These are all good questions, and thank you
They're
guys.
Amazing questions, actually.
Jeff says, if there's an actual tree on the corner, the physical corner of your property, will they put a pin as close as they can on the line without measuring to the corner?
No. Probably not. But
so is it possible, too, with trees growing around monuments?
Dude,
I've seen it, dude. I've seen it in dead trees, looking in it and seeing monuments.
You want to hear bad is I've dug into trees to locate pins. So we use a show and stat. It's a metal locator, and that's how we find buried monuments. Yeah, they're kind of like just a fancy magnetic locator. And I've actually measured the distance, and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be near this tree, and measure and get a signal in a tree, and I have to locate that. I really need it, and we will use a chipping hammer with permission from the owner. Use a chipping hammer, dig into a tree, and find a rebar or a pipe in a tree.
Mm-hmm.
But so what I do is, if a tree is the corner, I will actually locate the tree on multiple sides of the tree to get a DBH of the tree, and I will show that tree on the map with the accurate DBH,
Like a treasure map.
like literally like a treasure map, right?
Yep.
And will I set a rebar on either side, like if it's a corner? Absolutely not, because what that does is it creates freaking mass confusion to the homeowner. Like, oh, I owned it here, but then, holy crap, there's a pin over here. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
So if I draw a map and there's a 36-inch maple tree on the corner, and I show that as a symbol, and I put 36-inch tree, that homeowner can go out, walk up to the 36-inch tree, and say, hey, my corner is somewhere in that tree. That, in my opinion, is a good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I have a question that clicked in my head if we got time for it. But I want to hit your question. So everybody that's having these survey questions, this is a great question, but how do I find a local surveyor, Keith?
The best way to find a local surveyor in New York State is Nice Apple's website.
In the link.
In the link. So they have a resource page called Find a Surveyor, where you can put in your county, and it'll come up with a list of licensed surveyors. Okay. The caveat to this is it's only going to search registered surveyors within Nice Apples. Not all surveyors are registered
Sure.
with Nice Apples.
It's the same thing with realtors belonging to different boards and associations.
Yeah, so I would start with Nice Apples. If you need a surveyor, start with Nice Apples. That's a really good resource. And then Google, man. Like, it's sad to say,
but some of them have been out of business for 10 years.
But I'm going to tell you something, and this is not to toot anyone's horn, but like, find your local surveyor in Google or Nice Apple's website and call them and be like, hey, I live in Utica. Do you survey there? They may, like, I had this happen to me. My wife's colleague said, hey, will you come to a survey in Utica? I said, that's out of our range, but I'll find you a surveyor in Utica.
Mm-hmm.
So if that local surveyor or whatever can't help you, most likely they will be able to recommend a surveyor in your area. So yeah, Nice Apple's website, Google, and then just call a surveyor and ask them, because they'll help you.
Yep.
They'll for sure, even if they're not going to work in your area. That happens to me all the time.
Yep. And there are some guys that will survey anywhere.
I'm not.
It depends on the job size and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're not going to go do a little postage lot or something like that.
Yep.
Or if they are, they're just going to charge you for the value of that. So we talked about how do I find my corners. That was one of your questions.
Yep.
And then finally, this is the big one that everybody wants to know, Keith.
Number one question.
How much does it going to cost me?
It all freaking depends.
Perfect.
It all freaking depends. So it depends on the acreage.
Time of year.
Time of year. It depends on how good the deeds are. It depends if there's filed maps.
If you did the survey before.
Yeah, if I did the survey before, or if I've surveyed the parcels adjoining that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Ben owns 100 acres and I surveyed all that 100 acres and there's a parcel right next to it that's 20 acres,
I've already cheaper.
It all depends. So what I tell customers is every single survey quote is 99.9% of the time going to be unique to the parcel. Right? So there's not like a set amount that you're typically going to pay for a survey.
Well, breaking news. Breaking news from News 8 Rochester. The DEC has expanded the Oakville quarantine area, South Bristol, extending all the way up to Middlesex, the town of Italy, Bristol, and Naples for this year. So, guys, we need to do an episode with a forester on Oakville.
Yeah, I guess so.
Breaking news. Thank you, Alex. One of my coworkers from the college sent me that.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yep. So, and my last question of the night, after the depends question, how do you get minuscule jogs in a property boundary, example, 5 feet or less? Between, like, going down a parcel line, there's a jog of 5 feet or less, and then it continues. How did something like that happen?
It's probably because back in the day it fouled the fence line.
Okay.
Like if you're talking a farm parcel or something like
Yep,
that.
sure am. Wayne County's finest.
It's typically going to foul either a natural feature or B an artificial feature. So like if there was a fence line, if there's a bend in the creek or something like that, it's typically there was a reason they did that.
Mhm.
Is the reason, and I see that crap all the time, and I'm like, why did you do that? This is stupid.
Mhm.
It just looks dumb. I'm like, but it's typically why, like, if you're running down a fence line and for some reason Joe Schmo farmer jogged it around, a 36-inch maple tree to go down another way, and the tree got cut down, died, whatever, and the fence was left, and that's how it was surveyed. Yeah, I mean it's not all the time,
And
but
we also
it's
also
one.
see it too on survey maps where the line goes through and you see the barbed wire go this way and then this way back across the parcel line.
Very, very typical because have you ever seen a person in the 1800s make a straight fence line?
Have you seen anybody make a straight fence line?
Right.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Ross who did my fence. He did a phenomenal straight line job.
So yeah, it's they're
But
called So fence lines are very rarely straight. Yeah, and that's
you see it kind of bend along a property line. And
so
it's really cool to see that on the map.
Oh yeah.
With the little
Yep, and we
check boxes.
Yep, and we show that, but it's going back to the intent. Was the intent for the boundary line to be straight, or was it intended to follow the fence line? So it just goes back to the intent of the parties involved when that was
So in that situation, if it was to get resurveyed,
made.
do you think a surveyor could say that that jog is no longer valid in that parcel line,
All
or would that
all depends on how it reads in the deed. If
Gotcha.
the deed calls for
a
that,
jog?
that's
And the jog's there.
The jog's there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that could be 5 feet, could be 10 feet, 20 feet,
Whatever
whatever.
it is. If the deed calls for it,
It could have been a pasture line division.
yeah,
Something.
yeah, it all goes back
Different
to the
parcels back in the day.
yeah, everything goes back to the deed.
Mhm.
Because the deed
Gotcha.
is so the important thing on the deed is that the deed is the instrument into which one parcel is conveyed from one party to the next, right?
Mhm.
A map doesn't.
It's a history. It's a history of that parcel.
A map doesn't do that.
Yep.
A deed does that, right?
Yep.
A deed
is the timeline for your parcel.
Yeah, so it's just the instrument. That's all a deed is. It's a paper instrument to sell from me to you or from one person. The map is just a graphical representation of a deed. That's all a map is. Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you, Keith. I think that covers everything off our checklist.
Yep.
The good questions we had, the ones that came up off the top of our head. I'm sure we'll have more in depth. I would love to dive into like LiDAR and some of the other stuff and break into some of these rabbit holes a little bit.
Yeah.
But tonight we've hit it pretty hard. Hour 30. It's one of our longer shows in a while.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
Nope, dude. It was great. Conversation was going. A lot of good questions.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get a lot of good feedback from it from folks too, and questions that might come in from people.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
If anybody does have any more questions or anything like that, or wants more information, you can go to the Nice Apples website, the nsps.us.com. That's in our thing as well, the description as well. That's the national level, and then beasurveyor.com if you or anybody you know is interested in possibly pursuing a career in surveying.
Yep.
Absolutely. And if you guys have any other questions, and it's something I can't answer, which I probably won't be able to if it's a survey thing,
give them my email.
I will give you guys Keith's email or phone number, and
absolutely.
Put you in touch with them. So
call me, text me, email me anytime you want.
Just got to bring a bottle of bourbon, and you're good.
That's a good idea.
Yep. It's gonna cost you.
No, it really won't.
One bottle.
No, seriously. If anyone listening literally has any questions, seriously, Ben has my email. Just email me. If I can help, I will. If I can't, I'll point you in the right direction.
Yep. Last two comments of the night. Bo says, very interesting podcast. Excellent job, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Bo, for the great questions.
Yeah,
and
thanks, Bo.
Jeff Ames says, amount of time to find control. Don't know what that was.
Amount of find. So Jeff's done some surveying. I can tell. Absolutely.
Is that what the billing?
Time, what?
Is that what the billing is related to?
No, control points. So it's survey control.
Gotcha.
Only someone with surveying experience would know that. Yes, Jeff, finding control can suck sometimes, but we have GPS, so it's a little bit easier now.
So is that finding like a common point to start at kind of deal? Or?
It's just control points to set instrumentation on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the points that we literally set our GPS base station on, or toll station, or whatever.
Sure, it has to start from an X.
Yeah, and if you don't know where they are accurately, Like I stake them out with GPS now quite a bit, but yeah, they can suck to find, especially in the winter. Yep.
Bring the shovel.
I don't charge for that when it's a bitch to find.
Bring a shovel.
Yeah, the guys this week have been doing a lot of that. So yeah.
No, that's all right. The guys that are cutting the timber right now at the farm got to bring shovels to finish up the hand cutting. So
yeah, right, exactly.
they did a ton of it with the feller buncher, dude.
Yep.
We've had, I think,
Yep.
a dozen loads of total go out so far. So,
so thank you so much, Ben, for having me. Sorry this is long, but it's
no, I think it was right on point.
You get me on something I'm passionate about, and I could talk all night. But thank you for all the good questions, because honestly, I've talked to literally thousands of people about surveying, and those were really, really good questions. Questions that not a lot of people bring up. So
They need to go on the fact sheet on nice apples.
yeah, those were really good. So awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate having you on. And I'm sure you'll be on the show again at some point. Like I said, we'll probably do a follow-up with this.
Yeah.
Might have some survey work for you on the personal and professional side. So
That's always fun.
Yep, it is. So
Good.
All righty. Well,
Cool.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the pour.
Absolutely. It was excellent.
I think it was. I think it's a great pour. It's not a blow your socks off, but I think it's a really great pour.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do too.
Thank you.
And it's meant to be shared. So thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you want to see more content like this, we do have more guests lined up, local folks. We're not big enough to have Mike Waddell or any of them kind of guys on, but we are going to bring some good folks that can bring some good, valuable information to the conversation. Mm-hmm. And that way you're not just staring at mine and Nate's ugly mug every week. So thank you guys so much. If you're interested in being a supporter of the podcast, reach out to us, let us know. Until next time. You don't watch it enough. Nate says, see ya.
See ya.